Todd McFarlane, Comic-Cons just don't exist without you, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for folks like you, Mr. McFarlane. But we are at WonderCon 2025 here in beautiful Anaheim, California. And this one feels like we're back to the roots of being a comic convention again.
Yeah, a little bit old school if you've been walking around, because as you know, in the last 25, 30 years, comic conventions have sort of melded into these pop culture, right? That include, besides the comic book people, then you've got anime, you've got video games, you know, you've got toy people, and then of course you've got, you know, TV and voice actors and movie people, right? And so it becomes this whole big mishmash of geekdom, right? Geekdom, the word has gotten way, 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 way big, right? And so it's sort of fun to go to. I think it's fun to go to those shows, but this one here was kind of heavily slanted back on comic books, which is sort of where it was when I first broke into the industry. Like the Comic-Con, like San Diego Comic-Con was called that for a reason, right? Because it was comic book people in a small room, you know, kind of a small ballroom in a hotel in downtown San Diego, the Cortez or something like that. And from that, it blossomed into this big thing. And then probably, like, you know, once Hollywood made the move down, right, then the pop culture part of it really blew up. So people came for the celebrities.
You're completely right. Listen, it's pretty crazy going onto a convention floor nowadays in being able to get single issues to complete a run that I've been trying to complete my whole life. So it's pretty cool going back to the roots of comic books. But speaking of comic books, you have a handful that I want to talk about.
Do it.
First, I want to talk about Bloodletter #1, because it introduces Tasha Thornwell, a character with deep ties to Al Simmons. What inspired the creation of this character? And talk to me about how she shakes up the Spawn mythology a little bit.
Well, look, at the one thing that you try to do overall, right? Because again, I'm sort of at the 5,000 foot level, is you don't want to like give the same repetition of the same character with the same voice, with the same motivation over and over and over and over to all the readers. What I'm hoping for with the expansion of some of the books we've done and some of the miniseries and whatever else, is to create this kind of buffet of stories and everything from, let's say, what we're, you know, goofy stuff like The Spawn Kills Everyone and Sam and Twitch, which is hard-boiled detective. And then you can go all the other way to the sort of stereotypical superhero, right? But I want to also paint in between those so that people, ideally for me, let me just say, not just for the book you mentioned, but for a lot of, I think that we've hit our mark and we've done something positive if people come up to me, not necessarily now, but in a year, 5 years, 10 years, and go, you know, I never really liked Spawn.
Sure.
Right? I don't, like, who cares about him? But those other 3 books you do, or those other 2 books, or that other character you did, they're my favorites, right? So again, it's sort of like picking your favorite on the Avengers or the X-Men or whatever else. You don't have to like all of them equally, and we all sort of gravitate. But I don't want to assume that people who like what I do on Spawn necessarily are going to buy anything else. And actually, quite the opposite. If you don't like Spawn, how can I get you to pay attention? And the only answer is you have to start doing different characters in different ways, kind of with a different genre at times. So.
Well, this is why I love Twitch and Sam, because I feel like I love hard-boiled detective stories, and those have been characters that I've loved for over 20 years now.
Yeah, let me also tell you, Joe, that Sam and Twitch, like, who are just detective. What I say to the writers and people who work on the book at times, I go, yes, they know Spawn. Yes, they're in the Spawn world, but they only interact with Spawn 5 days a year. The stories we're telling are the other 360, and they're really good detectives, right? So tell those stories. For me, writing those books personally are the easiest books to write, because I find it for myself, it's way easier for me to imagine 2 human beings having a conversation than 2 super endowed human beings, right? Especially when you get to like the fight scenes.
Sure.
Ideally, every comic book, in my mind, every comic book fight scene should be silent. Just like in the movies. Once you get to the fight, you just sit back and they don't go, oh yeah, well, I'm better than you, and just wait, do you know who you're picking on? They don't do that in between punches, right? But we feel this compulsion to have to put silly stuff in between the action panels, and it sort of bugs me, and it doesn't feel realistic or grounded. which is why when you go to things like Sam and Twitch and even some of the other characters, like we got a book called Misery that's, an adolescent teenager, that you just go, no, you can write about real stuff that I've heard people say or my own family members say out there. And to me, it doesn't feel forced when you're putting words in their mouth.
Speaking of that, I want to talk about Bloodletter a little bit because Tasha's story is a lot different. Something I find really intriguing about this story, there's this concept of a revenge mission a little bit against Spawn himself, which is really intriguing to me. How does Tasha's story kind of challenge the ways Spawn in ways we haven't seen before?
Well, number one, we're not given the same, you die, you make a deal with the devil, you come back and you do it. Like we're not playing the sort of the checklist of how you become sort of a hellspawn or a superhero or whatever else. The other thing too is I think it's important, especially as we keep moving along, to give different voices to different characters, and in this case, both male and female characters of different ages. And so I've been reaching out to various writers, going, "Hey, look at I'm an old man. I'm an old male white man, right? And so I can write a certain amount of stuff, and I can fake a little bit of the rest." But it just seems like it would be way more sincere if you could come and bring your experience and your voice to it, right? Just like anything else. And I think this is true, going all the way back to when we were doing the HBO animation, where they would get like literally adults to do kid voices. And I go, it doesn't sound like a kid. It sounds like somebody trying to be a kid.
Sure.
So I go, why don't we just hire kids? And they're like, we can't, we don't have the money. And then I just go, I'm gonna bring my 4-year-old in. And I got my 4-year-old to read a couple lines and go, we're gonna use those, right? Because instead of an adult acting like a 4-year-old. So I think that when you're doing like female characters, you're doing, and this may seem odd what I'm saying, like, minority characters or people that have power or, have been close to being homeless and or have addiction, that somebody who's had some experience, not personally, but maybe knows somebody who's done enough reading in it that's out there, I think they should come onto the books and be able to give that voice. So Tasha's just sort of going, hey, if you don't want some sort of testosterone level macho guy, Al Simmons, which is, a lot of what I write, then here's, I think, a more sophisticated, grounded story with enough elements of fantasy in it so that it's interesting, but it doesn't sort of crawl. I can sell this book potentially to my daughters and my wife and the next door neighbor than I could Spawn, right? Because
Sure.
Spawn's more, if you like, action movies or something like that. So.
It's crazy to think that Spawn's been around for over 30 years to me.
Yeah.
Because you've been around during a couple comic booms. One, the initial 90s run of people collecting comics like they were stock market things.
Yeah.
And then during the comic boom that we saw get turned into the cinematic universe where we're at. But with a character like Spawn that has been around for such a long time, you've influenced so many great creators that are in this comic space. Somebody like a Jason Aaron. How is it for you having somebody like that play in your sandbox that you created so many years ago?
Well, I mean, look, there's a couple things, and you're saying a lot of big things. The people who influenced me the most when I was trying to break in had no idea they were, right? I mean, just like you. We read things and we hear about things, or we watch an interview about somebody or whatever else, and you go, and it starts to either inspire or motivate or whatever it is. Sometimes out of anger, you go, oh yeah, I'll show you, right? And you go and they don't know that they're doing it. So the people that I went, oh man, I want to draw just like that. I want to write just like that. They're writing thousands of miles away from me, don't even know I exist as a young kid trying to break in. And then you get there and I go, oh, so, I mean, you hear it when I'm in line and people come. So it's always interesting and fun to hear people say it, but you never know what you're doing. All I say to some of those people, even my peers, who go, oh, Todd, man, you had an influence, is, well, then keep it going and go do the best you can. And then hopefully you'll influence 100 people, right? And it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps trickling down, because we're all just basically byproducts of the beginning of, essentially, to some degree, Action Comics #1, right? I mean, it starts, right? and then everybody does kind of knockoffs of it. Character called Batman, you could say he's a knockoff because like a guy in a costume, right, doing things. They didn't give him superpowers, but and it keeps coming down, and we're all just sort of the next iteration of it. I just happen to be, step number 55 in a mile run, right? So hopefully there's plenty of other people that can come on and impress people. I always hope, I wish I could tag everybody when I'm giving a panel and go, I just want 5 of you that I'm talking to in this big room to like be on the stage at some point in your life, right? And see if that actually is true. Are there people that go, yeah, I'm gonna get there?
I'm 100% sure there's people that are on those stages that you've influenced directly.
Well, but let me tell you, sometimes I try to influence them. Look I've given them the speech. I stand over here, I go, I'm gonna be your dad. Here's why you should do it. Here's why I think you should take your passion, your idea, and you should at least try it once. And here's all the reasons. Here's all the motivations. Bam, 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 bam. I'm going to do it. And then I go, and now I'm going to walk to the other stage and I'm going to be a CEO. And I'm going to say the opposite. I hope the hell you don't do it. Because as a CEO, as a businessman, I hope I never have to compete against you. Because you may actually be twice as good as me. And I don't want to compete against somebody twice as good as me. So come up with reasons to talk yourself out of it, right? Come up with reasons why you're not good enough. Come up with reasons as to why you're too shy, you don't have the personality. Please do me the favor and don't ever get into competition, because it's way easier for me to win a race with 5 people than 500, right? I don't know, but somewhere along the line, there's personalities in that room, and I'm hoping that a bunch listen to Dad. And then I hope that there's actually even a couple that like get mad at the CEO version and go, because I would have been the guy that got mad at the CEO.
Sure, you're
and
defying everybody.
Screw you, Todd, CEO. I'll show you, old man. Like, done. I would have walked out of that room going, my mission is to take that old man down, right? Come on, have a little pride.
I mean, that's kind of what you did. You created Image Comics,
Why
Todd.
am I an old man still relevant? I shouldn't be. The natural order of most things, even in business, is that you sort of come in the 20s, you maybe hit your mark in the late 20s, 30s, you go good, and then you start to wane a little bit, and then the next group comes in, right? And it's odd to me, I say this really with all honesty, it's odd to me that some of us old men are still relevant, right? Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri, and John Romita Jr., myself, Greg Capullo, Frank Miller, right? Like, why? We've had our time in the sun, right? What happened to the last generation? Like, when I was 25, we were trying to knock off the 35s. Why? Like, the 55, 65, are you out of your mind? If you said the 25-year-old Todd, you got to knock off a 55, 60-year-old, first off, I would have said, tie one arm behind my back first, and I'll hop on one leg, and I'll even close one eye, and I'll still knock the old man. Like, I'm going after 35-year-olds, not 55. Somehow it skipped the generation a little bit. I don't know why we're still here, like being kind of relevant right now.
Where can people download your motivational podcast, Todd? Because I feel like you're dropping knowledge left and right here, because you are running circles around some of these younger folks that are coming up, and it's pretty wild to think that with the way that your drive was, especially even is now, the way that you guys kind of developed Image Comics is exactly like the blueprint that you're talking about.
Yeah. From my perspective, there's no shortcut to the blueprint, and that's the thing that I think gets missed. Like, sometimes people go, "Oh man, Todd, you're so lucky," whatever, and I'm like, "Lucky? What are you talking about? I put in 3 decades." Like, not 3 years, not 3 months. I put in 3 decades of my life, right? That character has been around since 1992 to get to 365 issues, which is the last issue we just finished. Like, that's it. I'm going to give you a frustration. You let me rant just a bit.
Yeah.
We're on ScreenRant, and I'm on screen, so I'm going to rant, right? So we've got Image comic books. And our goal is to open it up to as many creative people as possible. Sure. That's the goal. And to give you the same deal we give ourselves, the owners. We don't want any ownership. We don't want anything. You go and make toys, t-shirts, hats, video games, TV shows. We don't want a single penny of it. Go. It's yours. And yet with that, and I think the golden number is 50 issues. And with that, in 30 plus years, minus the partners and the original creators, I think there have been 6 books that have reached 50.
Wow.
Now, here's the for me the disappointing math. We've been at it for over 30 years, and there's been 6, which means that collectively, our industry, my peers as a whole, do that once every 5 years. Once every 5 years, they'll do it. So if you know what a compendium book is, where you can do the big fat book where you can put 50 issues in it.
Yeah,
I think you want to do it. Every book that's ever gotten to 50 issues has gotten outside the bubble of comic books. They've either become a TV show, a shirt, a hat, a video game, a movie, something. They've gotten out of the bubble. Sure. It's 100% minus Saga, but that's because they didn't want to. It was their right not to. But everybody else got out of the bubble. So that's why I'm saying 50 is the magical number to me. 50. I can count 6. And here's the problem from that point of view. Spawn is up to 365. I can do 7 myself.
Wow.
I can do 7 myself. Between Walking Dead and Invincible, Robert Kirkman can do 7 himself, right? So, okay. Take Robert out of the equation. I can do 7. And then the rest of the planet, not my peers, the planet who do Americana comic books, do 6. So either I'm phenomenal and I'm a genius, or they're just not doing it. And for me, it's like, guys, how many? And here's my question to my peers: how many of you been to do 50 issues? This is easy math. 4 years and 2 months.
Sure.
That's 50 months.
Yep.
Do a book a month. You got it. How many of you, my peers, if I had 10,000 in front of me, how many of you have been in the industry for 4.5 years? Of course, over half of you. How many of you have been in for 10? Yes. How many for 15? Yes. But in all that time, you never devoted any of that time for 50 months in a row to yourself.
Sure.
You know how Robert Kirkman got to do Walking Dead? He devoted it to himself. You know how Saga got to be it? He devoted it to himself. You know how I built an empire? Because I devoted it to myself. If you guys want any of that, which a lot of them do, then there's no shortcut.
Sure.
You got to go and do the 50 issues. I set a record at 301 issues for the longest running creator-owned book since the dawn of humanity. Okay, cool. Got it. If you take away the record that took me almost 30 years, if you took away the record, I've still added 64.
Sure.
I'm still past the 50 mark. You can ignore the record. And I'm like, going, guys, this is all doable. I'm going to have, at the end of this year, I'm going to have 3 more books at 50. Kingspawn, Gunslinger, and The Scorch. So I'm going to have 4 books myself. Like, guys, what's the difference? I'm not a genius. I'm not smart. There's only one thing. Well, you guys are building the straw house. I was the pig that was building the brick house. When you guys were having fun and doing whatever else, I was just laying the bricks and the mortar because I knew at some point I was going to get old and I needed to build the momentum that was there. Robert Kirkman did it, right? From a writer's point of view, I'll tell you why the writers don't do it, because the writers, here's the problem, that the writers can do 5 books in a month. Artists can only do 1. So if you do 5 books and you do your creator-owned book and then you do 2 for Marvel and 2 for DC, and people have a limited amount of budget, what do you think they're going to buy? They're going to buy the known quantity. So they're going to either buy the DC books, the Marvel books, the DC and Marvel books, and I would argue last is going to be your creator-owned book. You want to get them to buy your creator-owned book? Turn off the tap to the competition and take all your energies and take it over there, right? Robert Kirkman did it. He was the first guy to do it unforced, to say, I'm going to turn off all my other work. If you want me, you got to come over here. And they all came, and he built an empire on it, right? But so the blueprint's there. The blueprint is there, either both on the writing end by Robert and some of the stuff I've done and some of our other peers in between. And yet we keep trying to, people want what we want without basically putting in the same effort. And that's the piece that is missing. That they're trying to find a shortcut that doesn't exist.
Well, let's bring this full circle a bit, because something I do want to talk to you about is your epic Spawn run. I want to talk specifically about Spawn 367, because it teases a new threat looking to take Spawn's place as the alpha. Can you give us a hint about who's challenging Spawn and what makes him such a formidable opponent to Spawn?
Yeah. So all the powers have been returned to all the heroes. right? And because of that, we're now going to find out that a few more sort of wild cards have entered into this equation. And we're going to maybe see that everybody sort of assumed that Spawn was sort of the toughest guy on the block. He was the alpha dog, right? But I'm going to take a character that has been there, but they're going to get elevated, right? I think it's sort of fun to either invent characters and bring them on and surprise people, or to take characters that people underestimate and then build them up, and all of a sudden they become sort of the kingpins, the masterminds of all of the. So you never want to make it easy on your heroes, right? And you're constantly trying to test them, the hero's journey, right? And to me, it's not whether you're going to win the battle. It's like the journey of why you're even doing any of what you're doing to begin with. So he's going to get pushed and tested. And it's sometimes when you've been the alpha dog for too long, there's a bit of a cockiness, of a self-confidence that quite shouldn't be there, that can be exploited. And so we're going to sort of go, hey, you're getting a little bit big for your britches, Al. Maybe you might want to dial it down a little bit. So my wife reminds me of that a lot. So.
Now, before we go, I do want to ask you, you've been working on Spawn for such a long time, and it's such an iconic character. Do you have Spawn's final swan song of the story?
I had it from the very beginning. I had it from the very beginning.
Is it still the same story that you've always wanted to tell?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I always knew what the ending was. I just hoped that I never would have to tell it.
Sure.
Right? And so, and it's sort of interesting when you go in. It's sort of funny when you go and pitch stuff in Hollywood, right? And you tell, like, not with Spawn, but with anything. You go and pitch these big sort of grand stories and stuff, especially with some of the comic book stuff. And it's interesting how many executives say, oh, that's interesting. So how does it end, right? And I'm like, why? Why would you ask that? That's a defeatist question.
Sure.
Like, so my answer, whenever they ask, I go, what's the end of Superman? The answer should be, you never want to tell it. You hope it goes on for your lifetime and your kid's lifetime. Like, why are you talking about the end when you haven't even done the first episode? Like, you should be going, oh man, that's a good idea. We can do this for 20 years. Not like, when are we going to end this episode? If I come to you with a Sam and Twitch detective story that has a beginning, middle, and end, we can talk about what's the end of that, or we can talk about even with Spawn or superhero, any kind of character, what's the end of this one arc. But if you're asking me what's the end game of all of it, why do you want to know what's the end of Batman?
Sure.
Because even if I tell you, you should be crossing your fingers that we never have to get there.
I don't want Spawn to end.
No, we don't. No, we don't. But I've always had it. Yeah. So what I'll probably do is put it in an envelope and put it away. My kids will have it, whatever, so that it'll always be there in case anybody after my death wants to pull the plug on the character or whatever, that they'll go, here's what Todd's ending was, and they can go. And and even if people look at it and go, that was dumb, Todd, like, I'll be dead. I don't even, it won't matter anyways, right? So somebody would go on. Look, they only had two goals when we started. One was, I hope that Spawn, the character I was about to create, Spawn, would live past my lifetime, right? And it looks like we're on that path. And then two, that there would always be an Image Comics in my lifetime. And I could, that one I knew was going to be 100% because I made a vow to myself personally that I was going to put the Image logo on every issue of Spawn until I dropped dead. So at least I go, there's going to, even if Image is one title, it will never go away because there will be at least one title. And we've been super fortunate. My biggest pride in being in comic books really is the growth of Image and seeing all the talent and all the people bringing their ideas and a bunch of them prospering from their own ideas, which is the whole thing, right? I think people should reap the benefits of their own blood and sweat equity. Right?
Well, you were just talking about getting to 50 issues. Is there anything currently out there where you think to yourself, I think this has a shot to get to that 50 that you would champion? Because I mean, I love Radiant Black. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah. No, that's one of them. I think here's the thing that's frustrating. I think there's a lot that have the potential to get there, but you don't know because you don't even find your footing till you get to issue 25, right? If you were to ask me at issue 6, 7, talk to me about Spawn, you and I could go maybe for 15, 20 minutes. If you were to ask me today, talk to me about Spawn, my question would be, how much time do we have? Because I could go for days, right, of all this stuff that maybe even the readers don't know, that I've planted over 30 years. I go, and this, and this, and this, and this, how I could go and go and go. So you don't know that you have something big. I'm sure if you asked Robert Kirkman, did he think that Walking Dead was going to be phenomenal by issue 12? No. I'm going to guess his answer was no. Like, at what issue did he think, gosh, I've got something here? I'm going to guess it was probably closer to the 20s, right? That you're sort of halfway to 50, that you go, man, there's something here. Let's keep it going. And by the time you get to 50, you're becoming a quasi-expert on your own IP and your own idea. I just know how big the possibilities are. And on top of it, here's the other reason to get to 50. If you sell your idea and they make a TV and they make a movie and it becomes twice as big as Walking Dead, you've got 50 issues to exploit. But what's happening right now with a lot of my friends is that they're doing 5 issues, 6 issues, selling them. And even if it goes on to be the biggest thing on TV, I bet you didn't cut a big Hollywood contract, because your first one is never your biggest. And then you've only got 5 or 6 issues to exploit. At least Robert Kirkman had 120 issues when they started Walking Dead, and he added 70 to it, right? If when the Spawn movie comes out, I'm going to have close to 400 issues that I'm going to be able to just figure out, slice and dice, and go, cool. If Hollywood doesn't want to do me any favors, I'll do myself my own favors. And we're all getting old. You don't want to do manual labor yourself. So you got to figure out ways to create what I call mailbox money, which is like money comes in and you don't really work hard. And the way to do that is they figured out with DVDs, make the movie, do all the work over here, and then we'll just copy it over in this other division, and we'll make millions by copying it. We got to do a little bit of a package around it or whatever. That's called trade paperbacks. Sure. And hardcovers over where we're at, or make reprints of issue number 1, or do posters or hat and t-shirts or whatever else. People are going to take work that's already been done, exploit it, and then you're going to get some revenue for it to feed your family, because you're going to get the direct benefits of the hard work that you put into it. But I don't know. That's just me being a dad. I'm getting too old being a dad.
Listen, I actually think you drop a lot of knowledge. And last question I have before you go.
Do it.
I have to ask, because obviously you're one of the most knowledgeable people on the planet about comic books, but also you have such an extensive time in Hollywood, not only making a Spawn movie, but now doing a new Spawn movie. My question for you is, now we're on this new DCU, the precipice of the new DCU with Superman, and Batman's one of the most popular characters in comics of all time.
Yeah.
Who would Todd McFarlane be casting as his version of this new Batman that fits into this universe?
What actor are you?
What actor? Who is Todd McFarlane's Batman right now? Who's our front runner if Todd McFarlane is producing a Batman film for the DC?
See, I'm not great at name. I'm not great at Hollywood names. So you might be asking.
Give me a show and I'll give you the name. We could be a team here.
Yeah, and because it actually works for me. It actually this ignorance works for me in Hollywood, because they put like famous people in front of me and I don't really know how famous they are. So I just talk about like, hey, where do you go camping, right? Who's your favorite baseball team? And they're like, oh man, this guy doesn't have any agenda, right?
Sure.
And it's like, because I don't really know. I don't know. There's an actor, he might be too old. He was Spock in the Star Trek, but he was in Margin Call.
Zachary Quinto?
Yeah, that's it. That's the name.
Is it any Heroes?
Yeah. He has. I've seen him in shows where can be somber.
Sure.
And can be straight. Like he just looks. Oh, and I'm not talking Spock somber. I'm talking just like. Oh, like there's a seriousness to a lot of characters he's done, and I think Batman needs that personality, because Batman to me is a guy that's so focused and so serious that here's who Batman is to me. I'll give it to you and we can go. Is Batman to me, which is why I like him. I just think he's, other than Spawn, he's the coolest. He comes home and they go, hey, you got a bunch of money, and he doesn't give a shit about the money. And they go, yeah, and you're handsome, and there's a lot of people want to date you, and he doesn't give a shit about going out on a date. And it's like, well, what do you care about? And he goes, oh, I'll show you. And he just goes home and he just sits. And then at 2:00 in the morning, he goes, get me the black costume. And he goes, why? I'm going to go scare them. I am tired of them scaring us. I'm going to go scare them back, give them a taste of their own damn medicine. And I oddly get that guy. I just go, because he just doesn't like bullies. I have no patience in my life for bullies. And he's just going, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm going to get them to be afraid of me, right? And I like that. Superman and Spider-Man and stuff just want to sort of win the day. I get a sense a little bit on his best day, the Batman goes, I want to win, and I want them to be afraid.
Listen, I don't know if we can end on a higher note. We saw Todd McFarlane turn into Batman before our eyes in this interview.
Oh, I'll be old man Batman.
Listen, you'd still rock it, Todd. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you so much for your insight. And like I said, I think you are one of the most inspirational people that we always have here at ScreenRant to talk to.
No, I appreciate your time every time we come in here. I appreciate you guys' show. Here, let me just say one thing. I'll give you props and then we'll go. Is I think that within geekdom, that what you guys do and people like you is an equal part in the success of all of it, right? So you have creators that have to create, then you have studios and companies that have to either print or distribute or get the product out. You have the fans that certainly have to buy it, but then you have to have people in the middle, which is the news and the people who are the influencers that basically get that the art is coming. You can only do so much marketing, but actually give the voice to say, guys, this is going to be cool. Or this isn't going to be cool. Look at this. Look at that. If any one of those four pieces, let me tell you, I've thought about it long. If any one of those four pieces breaks down, the whole system falls apart. And so if there's no fans, we're done. If there's nobody creating, we're done. And if we don't have sort of places distributing it, we're done. But if people don't know what's coming, and they don't have influence and feel like they're part of a community, it also breaks down. So you guys, whether you know it or not, are equal partners, and I appreciate you guys. And I think the media, we shouldn't be able to dictate it from our end of only giving us good news. I think you guys should be able to report warts and all. As long as you're being fair-minded about it, we shouldn't be able to say, no, we only want you when you're going to be nice to us. We don't want you the other way. I don't think that's fair. So good on you guys. I hope you guys keep going for another 20 years.
Oh, me too, Todd. Thank you so much for the kind words. First of all, it's pretty wild for me because I'm sitting across from a legend. I read your books growing up, and I've talked to you several times, and it's still not lost on me that I came to these type of conventions sleeping in line, waiting to go into those panels. Now I'm sitting across from you, so it is a dream come true for me too.
No, it's good for all of us. So geekdom's good. I hope everybody gets a chance to of have a little bit of what we've had.
You're the man, Todd. And that note, this has been WonderCon 2025. There's no higher way to go out than with Todd McFarlane, absolute legend. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, be good.
Thank you.